Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lunchbreak Live. Real talk about obesity, food addiction, recovery, and what's really eating you. I am Cari de la Cruz, here with you on a Wednesday hump day. It's going to be a really important show today, you guys. How many of you saw my little traffic promo this morning on my way into work? Did you see what we were going to talk about? Does that sound intriguing? Okay, well, who knows what I'm going to say, but listen, welcome, come on in, the water's fine. Let's see who's showing up here. Got to put my glasses on, you know me, so I can see. Wow, I see everybody filtering in. Let's see, Mama, front and center. Hi, Mom, I'm glad you're here. And Jerry and Melissa and Becca, Christy, Joshua again, and Anna. Hi, so scary. Nothing scary. Do I look scary to you? I know a lot of people call me Scary Cari, but I'm not really scary. They just say that because it rhymes. Seriously. Oh, thanks, Mom. You know what? This is my 80s necklace. Isn't that cute? So nothing scary about this, you guys. There is nothing scary about me, nothing scary about this. As I mentioned yesterday, I think it was Rebecca who said, the truth is hard to hear. Once you hear it, it's not hard anymore. So it's going to be a really good show, you guys. So don't worry, just settle in, be comfortable, and be open. Be open to the process, as they say. Addiction is scary, not me. And Kathy, hi, welcome. Come on in. You know what? Addiction does not have to be scary. It can be treated. So we are definitely, Nancy, come in. We're going to talk about that today. But before I get too far into the program, very important. I am making this an official disclaimer. Did I say I'm Cari de la Cruz? Did I tell you that part? I think I did. Today's show, let me give you the show title. Hi, Jessica, you made it. I am happy to hear the improving news about hubby, and you guys are still in my prayers. Okay, so listen. Today's show is called Don't Call Me an Addict. Dun, dun, dun. That's my own sound effect. Okay, so before I launch into it, I think this is super important. I have a disclaimer for you. Ready? I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist or a bariatrician, a dietitian, an addiction specialist, or anyone who treats people for eating disorders. I am in recovery from obesity and addiction and disordered eating. So when I talk about stuff on the show, I'm giving you my opinion, which is based on my experiences and what works for me. I am not, and I repeat this, I am not a replacement for a therapist or any of the other specialists I mentioned above, okay? If stuff gets stirred up inside you while you're watching the show, which I'm pretty sure it does, and it freaks you out, get help. I cannot stress that enough. It's like when you call the doctor's office and they go, if this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911, like that kind of thing. And you're like, yeah, why would I call the doctor's office if it's an emergency? Okay, I get it. So this is not me saying hang up and call 911, but this is saying that when you're done, if you are freaked out, do not try to tough it out or deal with this stuff alone, all right? This show deals with the stuff that we overfeed because it eats us up. Obviously, that is a big, big deal. Obviously, so many of us come from a history of failed diet attempts. Okay? Why was that? Was it because we didn't know what to do on the diet? No, it was because something was eating us up and we always went back to feeding it. So that's what this show is about. This show deals with learning to live in recovery from the diseases of addiction and obesity for life. Okay, so that's my disclaimer. I can't say it strongly enough, you guys. I am not here giving you some expert advice. I am sharing with you what has worked for me based upon my experiences and inviting you to see if it might work for you. Okay? All right then. So with all of that said, addiction is a disease. That's what I'm going to say. Front and center, first thing on this show, addiction is a disease. And so is obesity. And it's okay if you don't agree with me. It's totally okay. You do not have to agree with me because you think that your behavior plays a role in the disease. And so if that's the case, then it shouldn't be considered a disease. Some people are like that. They're like, well, if you call it a disease, then people won't be responsible for their behavior. Okay, well, what if you smoke and you get lung cancer? Or what if you drink and you get liver cancer? Is cancer not a disease because your behavior contributed to it? So only you can answer that for yourselves. That's my logical take on it. So I am coming from a perspective that addiction and obesity are diseases. Yes, we play a role in contributing to the severity of those diseases, but they are very much diseases and should be treated as such. So, today's show, Don't Call Me an Addict. Why? I have heard this many times. People say, I don't like the word addict. I don't like the word addiction. Or, as Anna said, addiction is scary. I don't like the sound of it. It freaks me out. I want to run away, obviously. Okay? Don't label me. We've talked about labeling, right? Don't label me with that, because if you label me, then it makes me that thing and I'll never get better, or I'll never be well, or I'll use it as a crutch. So there's all that stuff that goes into this label, which is really just the name of a disease, you guys, of addiction. But we all have very strong opinions about addicts, don't we? Here's some of the things I think we think. They're liars. They do what they want to do, even if it's wrong. They're selfish. Their choices hurt others. They don't seem to care about the consequences of their actions. They look like addicts. They can't be trusted. They don't seem to care about anything except their substance or behavior of choice. They don't listen to reason. They don't stop once they start. They are out of control. They are losers. Show of hands, thumbs up. Anybody identify with that description or that opinion? Anybody else out there hold that opinion of addicts that you know or you've seen? Yeah. So that's not uncommon, right? And a lot of us think that you can only be addicted to things like drugs or alcohol. And that's why we say, don't call me an addict, because I am not addicted to drugs or alcohol, we say. But that is not accurate at all. You can be addicted to behaviors, okay, like sex or gambling or shopping or eating. Got it? So there are a lot of different factors that go into defining addiction as a disease. Not everyone is an addict. I get that. All right. But if it's a problem for us, a lot of us don't like the word. We don't like it because it makes us feel bad about ourselves. Or we are convinced that we don't fit that definition. Right? So we'll stop just short and say, I'm not that bad. In other words, I drink a lot, but I don't have a DUI. So I've never gotten arrested, I've never gotten in trouble, I've never gotten in an accident, therefore I can't possibly be an addict. Or I only drink after 5, I only drink on weekends, therefore I can't be an addict. I only binge eat on weekends. The rest of the week I am really, really careful. But I just call it a cheat weekend or a cheat day. That's all. So I'm not an addict. Okay, it's like the people that say I could quit anytime I want, right? The smokers. I'm not addicted to smoking. I could quit anytime I want. Okay, but could you stay quit? Or are you going to start again? Kind of like Lent, right? If you're Catholic. Okay, for 40 days, I'm just not going to smoke, but on day 41, baby, I am lighting her up, okay? See what I'm saying? So there's a lot of factors that go into this discussion of addiction as a disease that you may or may not have, because you may think that you're not bad enough to have an addiction, okay? Well, let me just think about that for a minute. Back to the common opinions of addicts. Let me think. I said they were liars, selfish, don't care if they're doing something harmful. Their choices hurt others. Consequences don't matter. They do what they want. They can't be trusted. They only care about their substance or behavior of choice. They don't listen to reason. They don't stop once they start. They're out of control and they're losers, and they look like addicts. Sounds a lot like obesity to me. It really does. That's how I felt about myself, and that is how society looks at people who have the disease of obesity. I guarantee you, they look at them as people that can't be trusted, as being lazy or selfish or not caring about the consequences of their behavior, not having any self-control, right? Sounds a lot like addiction and obesity, two diseases, okay? So maybe you don't like the word obesity, okay? So maybe you're struggling with that one too, going, yeah, I don't like addiction, I don't like obesity either, right, okay. Maybe you don't like saying that you have obesity, treated or otherwise. I certainly didn't, because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. Remember, you've heard me say I viewed obesity as a character indictment, that it was a defect and that it defined me as a bad person instead of a sick person. Do you see? So maybe saying that you're an addict with obesity is just way too much to handle, okay? I understand that. I understand that, okay? I am not here to diagnose you or say that you're an addict or say that you're dealing with obesity. That is not up to me. That is up to your doctors and you to determine, to work through, okay? I am here to tell you guys that whether you like the description of your disease, if you have it, you still need to treat it. That's really the bottom line. So this isn't about how I feel about you or how you feel about you or how you feel about the fact that you have a disease. You need to treat it. I'm pretty sure most diabetics don't like the fact that they have the disease, okay? But they still have to treat it. So really your feelings don't factor into whether or not you have to treat this problem. If your disease is obesity, treat the physical part with healthy eating and moving, okay? Treat the mental and emotional parts with therapy and support. And support qualifies as this show, you guys, spending time with me. This is support, not therapy, support. Treat the spiritual part because this is a spiritual disease. We are all suffering spiritually because we've lost inspiration. We've lost meaning in life and our purpose. Some of us do not think there's anything bigger than ourselves that could help us through this problem because it's just too big for us. It would have to be too big for anyone. So deal with that spiritual part that is suffering and is sick. Going to church, reading inspirational readings, doing meditative prayer, whatever it is that you do, take care of that part as well. Treat your disease, okay? If your disease is addiction of any kind, I would encourage you to look into treating it with a 12-step program like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Sex Addiction Anonymous, Celebrate Recovery, Food Addicts Anonymous, okay? Any structured program out there that leads you through the process of choosing recovery. That's the way that you treat the disease of addiction. It's not white knuckling, okay? It's not beating yourself up and saying, I need to do better. I need to stop once I start, and I'm just weak, and I need to have more control. That's not what it is, you guys. It is a program that will lead you through the steps so that you will begin to understand what recovery really is, and you will soon know what it feels like, okay? Feels a lot better than active addiction, I'm telling you. Don't let the name stop you from getting help. If there's just one thing I can leave you with from this show today, do not let the name stop you from getting help. If it's a problem, it's a problem. Don't let shame stop you from getting help. The only shame is not choosing recovery, not choosing to treat your disease, whether it's obesity or addiction or anything else. Do not let someone else's opinion or definition of your condition stop you from treating it. Just because a friend or even a spouse or your parents don't agree, don't get it, don't think you have a problem. You know if you have a problem. And you know that if you have a problem, it's negatively affecting absolutely every aspect of your life, including those people that don't even agree with your definition of the problem. You know it, okay? So do not let their opinion of you or their understanding of your disease stop you from treating it, okay? Don't wait for someone else's approval or even support, okay? I know it's hard. You've got to find support where it lives, not where you want it to be. And sometimes you're going to live in a house where there is no support. I've heard it. It happens. Look, the version of support I have in my house took a while to really come to the fullness of being what it looks like now, because my husband does not understand addiction. He doesn't understand how it is that I could start something and just not stop it. He doesn't understand the compulsion or the obsession or the mental stuff that goes along with it. He cannot imagine that food in the refrigerator I could hear it talking to me. He's like, it doesn't have any lips or a mouth. How could it be talking to you? I'm like, do you not hear that? I cannot get it to shut up. He doesn't understand that. Okay, it's different for him. However, because he loves me, he says, okay, look, I cannot begin to internalize this or wrap my arms around it. I just don't get it, honey. I just don't get it. But I love you enough to support you in getting help and in the work that you're doing. And I'm really proud of you for taking care of something that I don't even understand, okay? So that's what support looks like in my house. It didn't always look like that. Not that he was working against me, but he just didn't understand it, okay? There are people who will actively work against you for many, many reasons, okay? And not all of them are malicious or mean. They just happen to be what they are. So we need to do our best to take care of ourselves and our needs, okay? So in other words, if you lived in a house with people that said, you know what, this whole diabetes thing, this insulin resistance, just change your diet. Even if the blood sugar levels are, really, really high and you're not processing and you're insulin resistant and it's just, you're very, very sick, or you go into ketoacidosis or whatever, right? Even if, and your doctor's saying you need to get on insulin immediately, you need to be on medication, and someone in your house is going, well, because I don't understand the disease of diabetes, I'm just thinking you're foolish to do insulin and inject yourself like some drug addict or take pills for the rest of your life. I mean, if you just took charge of it and started eating better, you wouldn't have this problem. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't change the fact that you have a disease that you need to treat with professional intervention, professional assistance, not the person that lives under your roof with you. Unless they're a doctor who happens to be an endocrinologist, in which case I still might look at that degree and see where it came from. All right, so anyway, there's that. All right, I don't care what you call it. That's just really that's the firm, fair truth right out there. I don't care what you call it. If it's a problem, treat it. I am living my recovery from obesity and food addiction, or really compulsive overeating. And I am not ashamed to say it. So I'm going to leave my part there and see what you guys are talking about before I sign off. All right, so let's see what's going on up here. All righty. So where did I leave off? Welcoming everyone. And Melissa, I think I said hi to you already. Okay, I get it. Melissa's a little upset with me for making videos on the freeway while I'm holding my phone because she's afraid I'm going to crash. I totally get that. So you got to take me a picture of your setup, so that I can talk into some stand like I do here in my office or whatever. Okay, I was being safe. Eyes were always on the road at all times. You have to. It's Southern California. All right, let's see here. My mom said mine too, Jessica, but I don't know what she's saying mine too about what. So I'm just going to leave that one out there. Dorothy, hi, I'm glad that you made it. And Vivian, I started a food journal and was amazed of what I have been eating. Totally shocked. Yes. That, that awareness without judgment or castigation or shame. It is what it is. Ooh, I consumed that. I now recognize that is not what I need to be consuming if I want to treat my obesity, or if I'm dealing with compulsive eating behavior. That's not what I need to be eating if I want to treat that. A lot of us go to this place where we kind of shut down, or we close the curtain between one, conscious part of ourselves and this other, diabolical, part of ourselves that goes off and sneak eats or binges or has an addiction and does it in hiding. And, we're divorced. It's like two different people, right? We're divorced of ourselves. And then we come back as if we've come back out of a coma or, something, we've passed out, and we wake up and we're like, oh my God, how did that happen? Why do I have boysenberry pie all over my face? And why are there crumbs everywhere? What the heck happened to me? Was I on Ambien or what? Okay, I get that. And that is something that we often create because it's just too painful to, cognitive dissonance, they call it. It is just too painful to accept the reality of what it is that we are doing. And we are doing it consciously. We just maybe are afraid to admit it and acknowledge it. But again, I'm not a therapist, so do not, if I throw a word out there, just don't go there. All right. So, but I think that's excellent wisdom there, Vivian. It's a great tool, and I do advocate that people do that, not as a shaming mechanism or tool, but so that we really know what's going on. If you eat it, what is it they say? If you bite it, write it. Just do it. Hi, Lisa. Glad that you're here. Becca. I am Becca, and I am addicted to food. You know what? Maybe you're addicted to eating certain foods compulsively, Maybe because I'm pretty sure, I don't know, kale, Brussels sprouts, spinach, those cause a problem for you? They don't for me. They might for you. Typically, those are white flour carbs and sugars and goodies and treats. And yes, alcohol. You know what? That's sugar. That breaks down into the body as sugar. No wonder we love it, right? Okay, so absolutely. And you know what? What they say, you have to, the biggest, hardest step is to admit that you have a problem, where really it's to admit you're powerless over your problem, which is not to say that you don't have the power to do something about it. It's saying, look, whatever I've been doing so far, has had no power over this addiction, this compulsion, this obsession, whatever this looks like for me. So I need to do something different. So you have acknowledged here that you do know you have a problem and you need to do something about it. And I'm really proud of and happy for you, because you know what? Recovery is not for people who need it. It's for people who want it. Oh, and one thing Christy mentioned, she reminded me of a recovery slogan. There are a lot of great recovery slogans out there. If you guys do like a web search on recovery slogans, you're going to find a lot of really good ones there that you're like, okay, I get it. They're like bumper stickers, but they're easy to remember. And I love this. She said, when you focus on losing weight, you lose your recovery. When you focus on your recovery, you lose weight. Essentially, that's it. The point is, where's your focus? If you're focusing on losing weight, well, then you're not focusing on your recovery, because you can't be focusing on two things at once. I would encourage us all to focus on recovery, which is being the best version of ourselves, the healthiest version of ourselves that we can be. All right. So, Jerry, I don't hold that opinion about addicts, but I know people who do. Exactly. So again, when I'm saying that, that is a common, that list is a very common list of how people view addicts and addiction. It's kind of interesting. If we have an addict in our lives that we know and love, that may be a different list for us, because we're saying, I can't judge that person harshly and dismissively. But see, really, we're judging the behavior, not the person. We're judging the addiction, not the addict. That's really the distinction that has to be made here. And we're saying that addiction is destructive, and it is destroying you, the addict, as a person. But you're right. People view addiction differently. I like to think, though, that a lot of the reason people don't want to accept that as being the definition of their disease is because they do associate it with all of those descriptors that I gave. And those are also very common descriptors for people who deal or don't deal with their obesity, right? All right, Vivian, I'm addicted to wine. Okay. So, here's the thing, and I don't know, because alcohol is not my issue, but is it just wine, or would it be kind of any port in the storm, any port wine in the storm, if you will, and maybe that's one of those things where you just say, look, once I start, I can't stop. I know that about myself. My only course of action is to not start. What's it going to take for me to draw that line in the sand that I respect, to create that healthy boundary that says I will not cross that line? What is it going to take? Only you know that. I would encourage you to work with some sort of a 12-step program. If you're dealing with obesity as well as that, look up OA, Overeaters Anonymous. There's a wonderful book. I cannot speak highly enough about it. The 12 Steps and 12 Traditions of Overeaters Anonymous. The 12 Steps and 12 Traditions of Overeaters Anonymous. It is available on Amazon.com. Very profound, very powerful. So I would encourage you, look at it. If you see yourself on the pages, you'll know that A, you're not alone, and B, there is hope. Okay? Let's see. Dave, welcome. So glad you made it. And Barbara, I haven't seen you in a while, Barbara. Hey, welcome. So glad you made it. And Amber, I think you're, is it Amber Lee or just Amber? I think you're a new viewer. Welcome. I'm so glad you were able to join me here. This is great. Join all of us, really, because it's not just me. As you can see, this is a phenomenal community of people. Very supportive, loving, wonderful, and welcoming. So this is the place you want to spend your lunch breaks or your afternoons or your on-demand time. You want to spend it with these people. They're very, very good people. Hola, Maria, Elena. I'm so glad that you are here. I'm so glad that you're here. I've been seeing lots more of you. And Angela and Vivian, another Vivian. I have two Vivians. It's like I don't even know what to say. It's just like twins. It was twin Vivs. So anyway, lost the connection. Oh, it's the same. It's the same Vivian. She lost the connection to the video. I'm like, another Vivian W? That's so weird. Okay, sometimes I'm slow on the uptake. Kathy, those of us in leadership roles need to be careful. People look to us for approval. You're right. You're right. And I just think that's why that disclaimer is so very, very important. I cannot be responsible for your decisions or your choices. Okay? I can share with you the decisions and choices I've made and the things that have influenced those decisions or lack of decisions in the past. I can share that with you, but I cannot do the work for you, and I can't be responsible for you or your work either. But I will sure as heck be with you on the journey as long as you can keep up, all right? What is it they say? I'll work as hard for you as you'll work for you, but not an ounce more, okay? So I think that's really important, Kathy. You're absolutely right. When you're in a supporting role, of it's, maybe leadership is the problem. You're a supporting role. You're supporting them in the work that they do and helping them to find resources so that they can find the answers. All right. So what do you call those foods, Becca says, about the ones that we are compulsive about? They're different for everybody. And yet they share some similarities. I would encourage you to, what I did is I made my physical list of things that cause me problems. Once I start, I don't stop. And those are going to be, some people are like salty. Oh, I like salty and greasy treats, but I don't like sweet, or I could do without chocolate, or I don't need cookies. Me, I was a pretty equal opportunity offender. Anything that qualifies under, lives under the umbrella of junk food, I'm in. Count me in, except dark chocolate with fruit. I really had to draw the line there. Sometimes, if there was nothing else available, I would eat it until I could find something else to follow it up that would erase the taste. Didn't stop me from eating it, but I wouldn't, like dark chocolate covered almonds. I would suffer through them. M&Ms, almond M&Ms, I'd suffer through them, So I was an equal opportunity offender. It's going to look different on everybody, but I would encourage you to make a list of those foods. A lot of people call them like red light foods that give them problems that whenever they start, they do not stop. Every time, make yourself a list of those things so that you go, warning, warning, don't start this or you won't stop it. Because you'll just feel bad about yourself, which is silly because you already know now what you do around it. So don't spend time with it. Okay, that's what I would suggest. Nancy, I'm glad that you're here. Cynthia, I haven't seen you live, I don't think, in a while. I had 8.5 years. I am 8.5 years out from RNY and have kept off the weight, but am still... I still fight that carb monster every single day. Stop fighting him. Honey, if you have tuned into any of my shows, I will tell you, you will lose that fight every single time. Every time you engage in a battle with the carb monster, you will lose. Even though you say, I will beat you today. Watch, I'm only going to take one bite. That's not how you beat the carb monster. The way you beat him is you don't fight him. You say, you know what? You win every time. So it's really not much of a fight, is it? It's like I'm an unarmed opponent. So tell you what, how about I just don't get in the ring with you today? All right, I'm not going to fight you. Then if you don't fight him, then there's no fight. I know that sounds unbelievably simplistic, but it is. It is that simple. I didn't say it was easy to do, but it is that simple. Don't fight the monster, and there'll be no fight. Okay? And Angela, yes, she agrees with that statement. And Kathy, glad you're here from Elysian Fields, Texas. See, I know I didn't even have to look. And let's see. Well, thank you so much, Maria. I really appreciate that. Wisdom, I'm just going to call it experience. I hope that there is wisdom behind it because it has certainly given me so much serenity and peace and healing and recovery. That's why I want to share it as a gift. So if it is wisdom, well, I will humbly and gratefully accept that definition of it. But I'm just going to say I'm just sharing my experiences and what works for me. All right. Jessica, hi, everybody. Glad to report that my hubby was sent home from the hospital today. Recovery will take time and many weeks of physical therapy. Thank God he has you by his side to slow him down and keep him strong. So I'm really glad to hear that update, Jessica. All right, guys. Well, listen, it is, trigger foods. Kathy calls them trigger foods. We have different, and Akabono. Thanks, Mom. Akabono, my sumo wrestler. Exactly. So listen, I am going to sign off. I don't want to go long. We are almost at the 30-minute mark now. How'd this work out for you guys today? Did you have trouble finding me? Let me know if you found me without any trouble. I'm going to sign off and remind you all to have courage, seek peace, embrace joy, and above all, live your recovery by treating your diseases. Remember, you can't stop feeding what's eating you if you don't know what's eating you. I will see you guys tomorrow. Remember to share this. Bye.